지물지라 아마마 예오지
Boru Aboye, Boshishe. Welcome to the School of Orisha Studies and the Orisha Lifestyle Academy. I'm your instructor, Obafemi Origunwa, and today I want to share a brilliant lesson in the form of a story about Ori, the Supreme Divinity. And this particular verse comes from the Holy Odu of Ogunda Meji. And in this story, we learn why Ori is above all. Why Ori is greater than any of the divinities, any of the Orishas, greater than Shango, greater than Obatala, greater than Ogun, greater than even Orunmila himself. So listen and enjoy. Oromila said that when we get to the home of a respected elder, we bend down low. Ifa asked the question, who among the Orisha can accompany their devotee on a long journey, even across the seas without ever turning back? Shango said, I, the great Kabiesi, I can accompany my devotee on a long journey, even across the sea, without ever turning back. But then the divinities asked, Shango, what would happen after walking and walking for a long distance? You came to the kingdom of Koso, the home of your forefathers, and they prepared for you delicious gbegiri soup, and they made amala, and they gave you orogbo, and they gave you a rooster. Shango said, well, after I ate to my satisfaction, then I would go home. The Orishas replied, Shango, you can't accompany your devotee on a long journey, even across the sea, without ever turning back. Oromila said, when we get to the home of a respected elder, we bend down low. Ifa asks, who amongst you, Orisha, can accompany your devotee on a long journey, even across the sea, without ever turning back? Oya, seeing that her husband had gone and failed, she wanted to finish what he started. She said, I can accompany my devotee on a long journey, even across the sea, without ever turning back. The Orishas looked and they said, well, Oya, what would happen if you got to the kingdom of Ira, home of your forefathers, and they killed a big she-goat for you, and they gave you an enormous pot of egbo? What would you do then? Oya said, well, after eating to my satisfaction, I would go home. The Orisha said, Oya, you can't accompany your devotee on a long journey, even across the sea, without ever turning back. Oromila said, when we get to the home of a respected elder, we bend down low. Ifa asks, who can accompany his devotee on a long journey, even across the sea, without ever turning back? Obatala responded, I can accompany my devotee on a long journey, even across the sea, without ever turning back. The divinity said, well, Obatala, what would happen if you get to Ifon, land of your forefathers, and they kill one big white hen, pregnant with eggs, and they offer you 200 snails, and they give you seasoned vegetables and melon soup? What would you do then? Obatala said, well, after eating to my satisfaction, of course I will go home. The Orisha said, Obatala, you can't accompany your devotee on a long journey, even across the sea, without ever turning back then. Oromila said, when we get to the home of a respected elder, we bend down low. Ifa asks, which of the Orisha can accompany his devotee on a long journey, even across the sea, without ever turning back? Elegbara stood up. He said, I can accompany my devotee on a long journey across the sea, without ever turning back. The Orishas looked. They said, but Eshu, what would happen if you get to the kingdom of Ketu, home of your forefathers, and they offer you a nice he-goat and abundant palm oil? What would you do? Eshu said, well, after eating to my satisfaction, of course I would return home. The Orisha said, Legba, then you can accompany your devotee on a long journey, even across the sea, without ever turning back. Oromila said, when we get to the home of a respected elder, we bend down low. Ifa asks, which of the Orisha can accompany their devotee on a long journey, even across the sea, without ever turning back? Ogun jumped to his feet. He says, I can accompany my devotee on a long journey, even across the sea, without ever turning back. The divinities looked and they said, well, Ogun, what would happen if you get to Ire, land of your forefathers, and they offer you plenty of beans? They kill a dog for you. They offer you a rooster. They give you emu and palm wine. What would you do then? Ogun said, well, I would chant Ijala vigorously. I would dance. I would eat to my satisfaction. And then, of course, I would go home. The Orisha said, Ogun, then you cannot accompany your devotee on a long journey, even across the sea, without ever turning back. Oromila says, when we get to the home of a respected elder, we bend down low. Ifa asked the question, who amongst the Orisha can accompany their devotee on a long journey, even across the sea, without ever turning back? Yeye Oshun said, I can accompany my devotee on a long journey, even across the sea, without ever turning back. The divinities looked and they said, Yeye Oshun, what would happen if you get to Ijumu, the land of your forefathers, and they make an abundance of shekete for you? If they give you yanring, what would you do then? Yeye Oshun said, well, if after I would eat and drink to my satisfaction, of course, I would go home. They said, yeah, then you can't accompany your devotee on a long journey, even across the sea, without ever turning back. Oromila said, who amongst the Orisha? Oromila said, when we get to the home of a respected elder, we bend down low. Ifa asks, who amongst the Orisha can accompany their devotee on a long journey, even across the sea, without ever turning back? Now Oromila himself said, I can accompany my devotee on a long journey, even across the sea, without ever turning back. But the Orishas look and they said, but Baba, what would happen if you get to Okeigeti, land of your forefathers, and they offer you 2 fast rats and 2 fish that swim gently, 2 hens and 2 she-goats? They give you pounded yam. They give you alligator pepper. They give you obi and orobo. Oromila, what would you do? Oromila said, well, I would eat and I would drink to my satisfaction, and I would recite countless verses of Iyere, and then I would go home. The Orisha said, well, now we're confused. They sat in silence. They said, Oromila, we don't understand. We confess our ignorance. You who is the wise man who teaches wisdom like one's kinsman. You who is the one who knows the beginning and the end of all things. Oromila, we are naked. Please clothe us in your wisdom. Finally, Oromila said, it is Ori and Ori alone who can accompany his devotee on a long journey, even across the seas, without ever turning back. When the Babalawo dies, the people will take all of his instruments, his ikin, his okboifa, his okbele, and those things will be buried along with the Babalawo. When a Shango devotee dies, all of his instruments will be taken as well and disposed of. When a devotee of Obatala dies, people will take all of the paraphernalia from his shrine to be buried with him. But when have you ever heard of someone removing the head from a devotee before he's buried? Ifa says it is Ori and it is Ori alone who can accompany his devotee on a long journey, even across the seas, without ever turning back. And so we say, if I have money, it is my Ori that I will praise. Ori, it is because of you. If I have a spouse, it is Ori, I shall praise. Ori, it is because of you. If I have children, it is you I shall praise, my Ori, because Ori, it is because of you. Of all of the blessings that I have in this world, it is because of my Ori, and so it is to my Ori that I shall give praise. My Ori, I praise you, I hail you. You are the one who always remembers your devotee. You are the one who gives blessings to your child more than any of the Orisha. No one will bless the devotee without the consent of Ori. Ori, it is you that I praise. You are the one who allows children to be born alive. Anyone whose praise and whose sacrifice has been accepted by Ori should rejoice exceedingly. And so it is that Ori is recognized as the supreme divinity above all others, to be hailed, to be celebrated, and to be venerated above all divinities. We give thanks to Ori today, and we pray that Ori will continue to wake us up and to direct us on the path of fulfillment. We praise Ori today, and we pray that Ori will continue to guide and protect our loved ones, to shield our children. We give thanks to our Ori today, and we pray that Ori will give us the wisdom and the courage and the flexibility and the creativity to transcend all of those elements of life that temporarily threaten to undo us, to tie us down, to confuse us. May your Ori accept your prayers today. Ashe. Good people, I hope you enjoyed our short story today, taken from Ogunda Meji. And I want to encourage you to continue to venerate your Ori, continue to elevate your Ori, continue to recognize and praise your Ori. And if you want to learn more about Ori, what it is, we're going to teach 9 different aspects or facets of Ori. Things that people don't typically talk about, don't usually teach about, don't usually reveal about Ori. It's not just one single blob of consciousness. Ori is a multifaceted divinity. We're going to cover 9 different dimensions of Ori. We're going to say more about why Ori is supreme. This is just one example of why Ifa explains Ori's primacy. We're going to cover a range of invocations, Ifa verses, prayers and songs for Ori. And finally, this course is going to wrap up with step-by-step instructions on how you should appease your Ori, all the ingredients, all of the steps, and the rituals that are necessary to stay in contact and remain in alignment with the supreme divinity. You can enroll in the link in the comment section or in the description of this audio. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section. Stay blessed.
Yeah.